Yeah, it's really quite lovely out. Yeah, lovely day. Wonderful, wonderful. Uh, Alright, loves. So yes, it's winter again. Damn. Officially. Yeah, now. Yeah. Shouldn't complain. It's not a foot of snow, so it's gonna turn to rain, probably as I'm walking. Anyway, awful day. Huh. No, let's not even bother saying his name. Um, so I'll play his video. I'll clip it on this video. I'll play his video. I just listened to the first minute, and it was just, you could just see it's not going anywhere good. And the title, he puts the word religious in the title again. It's just, so it's a religious concept. To accept that consciousness is fundamentally different than everything else in the universe, and that the fundamental difference is that it creates something of real quality, the quality of our sensations, our the quality that underlies all other definitions of quality. The very fact that we can say something has quality, or is of quality, or of value, is because the fact that we feel it. We feel good when our team wins and bad when our team loses. That defines the goodness and the badness of the event of winning or losing. It wouldn't mean anything if we didn't express that sensation as a consequence of the outcome. The outcome, the effect on a feeling thing, is what defines and describes all value. That's, in his opinion, a religious statement. So that's the credibility of his, the integrity of his logic and intelligence is demonstrated in the fact that he would use a word like religion to describe that conclusion based on the evidence of looking at the world. So you look at the world and you say, yes, there's a big difference between brainless tree and human being. What's the big difference? Oh yeah, big brain. Yeah, that's religion. So, it just makes it obvious that he has no integrity as a speaker of he has no honesty. So it's just, he couldn't possibly be honest in this description because he knows that religion comes with a whole class of descriptors for which my philosophy could not possibly fit in those categories. The whole, usually from antiquity, usually involving a deity, supernatural events, all of that stuff. None of those are in this simple conclusion that consciousness, as I experience it, is fundamentally different than non-consciousness. And, gee, how religious of me. So it's just, whatever. So that's the good thing, is that it comes down to you can't have a philosophical conversation with people who you can't have agreeable premises. Even for the sake of argument, they will not agree to the premises in the form that you've stated them. So you can never escape it's just a matrix catch. That it's, what, you mean something, electricity in your brain has some significance? There's electricity in my clock. Therefore, electricity is benign. My clock doesn't feel anything, so therefore you can't possibly be feeling anything because it's just electricity in your brain. This kind of crap. So if you can't have an agreeable premise that the fact of our consciousness is really not subject to any kind of reductionism that makes any sense. You can reduce it to parts. You can reduce it to physics. You can reduce it to photons. but you can't unravel the fact of it, that regardless of how, the fact of it is just a fact. You can't, you know, yes, you can make photons unconscious, you can make molecules unconscious, you can make electricity unconscious, but obviously the combination of those ingredients in brains creates a quite unique phenomenon in terms of there's nothing like consciousness that I can compare it to. There's nothing I can find that has anything similar to consciousness. So, but I guess, like I said, well, I can't imagine existing in the world and saying, I'm going to pretend I'm not conscious. I'm going to pretend that the most important feature of my, whatever this is, my thinking, my living, my everything about what I'm doing, I'm supposed to pretend it's not really happening. I'm pretend I don't feel the rain, pretend it doesn't have a perfectly coherent sensation. No, I'm not going to do that. Why do I want to do that? So yeah, you want me for the sake of argument to pretend? I'll do it for the sake of argument. I'll pretend it all doesn't mean anything, and then I'll say, why am I having a philosophical conversation then? Because absolutely nothing could mean anything. So yeah, if you want to not have a philosophical conversation, you want to say philosophy is meaningless, say it. Don't waste people's time pretending like you have something to say that means something, and then say, but I'm negating consciousness. I'm negating its existence as a phenomenon. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Well, obviously it doesn't make any sense. You know, it's insane. Oh, this is probably going to be dicey. But somebody has done it previous to me. Oh, they were fucking insane. Yeah, no, better men than me, right? God, I really don't. Well, see, they're going the other way. The other way looks less intimidating, right? I mean, this rock is bad. That's just damn slippery. I mean, I'm on a piece of ice here. Ew. I don't like this. But the water's not very deep. So what's the worst that can happen, right? Probably should scrape up some junk. Throw some junk on here. Maybe it's easier to scrape it up over there. But then there wouldn't be any on this side. Alright, slight detour. Scrape up some junk. Should be some junk here. That's the problem, all the rocks are probably frozen. If they are. And let's see, maybe on the side here. This might be a good place to get some rocks. Well, it isn't good, but it's better than nothing. Ugh. That might help a little. I don't know. One handful. I don't feel like making trip after trip. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, but, you know, there's no point in having philosophy if you're going to negate the meaning of, you know, really important stuff. It doesn't look like that's going to do much, but let's see. It's better. I like it. Shit. I don't know I'm going to end up in the water. I just know it. I know it, baby. If I was a younger man with better balance, I wouldn't be intimidated. But, you know, age is taking its toll and all that. It's not even age, it's just this ear thing. Yeah, swimming, it's ruined me. But who cares, right? It's worth it for swimming. Alright. So where was I? I think I brought my e-cigarette with me. Alright. So continuing. I've said all this stuff before, so that's the real bottom line, is that I have to just quit responding to people who are belligerent to what has already been stated and restated and explained. Is, it's just so in such minutia that it really can't be escaped anymore. I mean, I have qualified the vocabulary and explained the simple nature of the philosophy, which is just a recognition of our psychology. We can see how our psychology works. That it is a mechanism that establishes this idea of sensation, and it applies it, projects it onto things in the environment, based on what they make happen to us. And those value projections from nature have no credibility. There's having any connection to right or wrong in any kind of logical way. We can enjoy things that are very hurtful to other things by nature's rules, by innate default conditioning, and that can be understood to be inefficient and ineffective to gameplay. That's the destruction of the pawn, the destruction of something else's welfare to gain your own gratification, which is less than zero-sum play. That creates the nature of the creation of the negative, is that we can be very expensive in acquisition of our comfortable sensations. And we can have a capacity to be discomforted by superficial and clearly idiotic things, like my Lamborghini has a scratch in it. The silly things that can motivate people to go to extraordinarily wasteful lengths to correct circumstances that really don't need correcting. They only need correcting because your psychology is shit. So the basic argument is we're not magnificent creatures, we're just psychologies. And like if we were examining any animal colony or any group of animals, we could clearly understand the trade-offs being made for existence, and we would be able to understand when there was, too much pain for too little gain kind of thing, in terms of, if it was a laboratory rat. Some of you people might be able to say that an experiment is unethical because you're torturing these sensitive creatures, and what you will gain as a byproduct is of insufficient value to justify torture. So and there's the economics. So the kernel is the sensations created in sentient beings. That creates the currency, the bills, the debt, and I'm trying to find a good analogy. It creates the gold and the debt slips, you could say, the IOUs. There's one way to put it. I mean, it's the same. Unfortunately, it is perfectly synonymous in the sense that the truth of the matter is, like the economy, it's all negative money. Money's created as a debt, and in the same sense, positive value that we glean is the payment of a negative condition. And the argument is you never needed to create this jet engine in the first place. So that, yes, the currency of this exchange taking place are the sensations that fall into the category of positive or negative. You pay for the price of the positive sensations with some measure of negative sensation, and it's just a matter of whether you pay or somebody else pays. But it doesn't matter who pays. The currency is the same in the sense of any sentient suffering is sentient suffering, and it has to be part of the accounting. So as you walk through your life, there's an entire biosphere that is paying for your oxygen production and paying for much of the climate you exist in. They are required to eke existences in this environment to create the environment. And then, of course, there's other things we do that are more directly harmful, in terms of, rewarding people for manufacturing pets and, the torture of animals and farms for food. These are more direct impositions where it's just more obvious, that you're buying your comfort at something else's discomfort. It's quite obvious. And so begins a conversation about ethics. And once you establish the existence of value, then you can start talking about rational or reasonable equations, and what the right thing to do is, what the logical response to the circumstances, best solutions. It's probably another word other than solution, because it really is just a reaction. But the problem is that it always is a problem. And the strict definition of a problem would be finding not a solution, but first it has to be qualified as a good enough solution. And then ideally, you'd always want the best solution. Just makes logical sense. Yeah, I'm probably better off just running through the water. Yeah, it's very thin here, water. Slippery, but thin. See, I'm walking on the rocks. So it almost looks like a woman's boot. She's very talented. Anyway. So, not the best video. But conditions are a little distracting. Yeah. On the accusation of calling this philosophy religion, it's just an insane comparison. There's absolutely no presumptions being made, no assumptions that have any biased function. It's just some fair observation of what it is to find oneself on Earth and describe the circumstance. What piece of evidence or reasoning in the defense of this philosophy relies on any kind of supernatural assumptions or presumptions of anything magical? It's magical to say I can tell the difference between pain and pleasure. I don't think so. I don't think that's a magical statement. Anyway, enough. Until next time and such. Yeah. inevitable, as they say. Anyway, till next time. Back. Cigarette. Yeah, I only got 2 left. See if I can hold that one out for tonight. Mouse. Yeah. Anyway, Hythloday, continuing. So anyway, subjective religiosity of Inmendham's value. He has felt it. All praise. Amen. So again, it just speaks for itself. Somehow, if you define our consciousness as a byproduct of nature, that's a religion. Okay, fine. Whatever. There's 14 minutes of this 13, so I better keep my interruptions to a minimum.
Inmendham, in one of his tirades, is like, you inarticulate fuck. Just had to begin with this.
Oh, another quote mine. What a surprise. Yeah, I shouldn't even bother responding, but to tirade, yeah, the responses to your accusations, idiot, that's right. So I'm going to respond to some motherfucker cunt who just makes accusations and backs them up with nothing. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
The hatchet job to the concepts and the ideas.
Oops.
It's incredible. So incredibility.
I'm incredible.
It's beyond.
I think he was looking to say.
Yeah, I didn't say you're incredible, actually. So, again, you couldn't even get that part right. Since you misparaphrased again when it's right in front of you. I said, it's incredible, right? Not you. It's. Your preposterous behavior is incredible. Your insipid, insane arguments are incredible. Your willingness to use catch-22 tactics is incredible. Yes. Anyway, and so, yeah, the fact that I stumbled on a word in the video, I defy anybody to play the whole hour-long video and not say, yes, it was a pretty articulate explanation of some very complex points, and it was said very quickly and very concisely and very well for 99% of the video. And one portion, I had a little trip on a word, and that's what he used. And so just think of all the Hythloday videos and how easy it would be for me to quote mine them, to cut all of his hems and his haws and his, oh, that's not what I was trying to say, all his crap, and make a video out of it. And I could do that, but I'm not a petty weasel. So, yeah, I don't bother.
I stray incredulity, but the dumb, brain fuck-tired wanker, you know, has no room to preach about articulating oneself. Right, let's pull up the notes.
Well, whatever. I think I do have plenty of room to do that. Yeah, so you go ahead and point out somebody who's a match for it, asshole, and I'll take them on. Yeah, but I don't see anybody. And a Kantavad. A man who never answers a question.
Here we've got a guy, right? In the one moment says, in the early parts of this video, he's saying, I can't give you a proof. Why should I have to give you a proof? God doesn't.
So again, he can't. Another misparaphrase, right? I can't give you a material proof. All I can give you is a logical proof. I can't materially put consciousness on a plate and dissect it for you. Can't be done. Yet. And I don't think even when you had the parts together, you could still connect the material to the non-material sponge, fudge, mush, that is the actual consciousness. But the fact of its reality is learned through experience. Having one is a huge advantage. You don't understand that? You don't understand that simple argument. Having a consciousness is a huge advantage into knowing what it's like to be conscious. Yeah, I think it is. You fuck.
Wrote value on a stone saying, this is value. How can I give you a proof of something that we can't prove?
Again, this is just like I said, you can't be more of a liar. Okay, I told you, I said material proof. I didn't say there's not a logical proof, and the logical proof is in what I consider decisive evidence, which is my own eyewitness testimony. I was at the scene of the crime. I saw it fucking happen. All right, I'm having conscious experiences. I don't need any evidence external. It's happening to me. You dumb ass. I'm assuming you, like I said, the premise of the conversation is that you're also conscious. If you're not conscious, I said, I can't explain it to you. So if you don't know that there's a world of difference between a nail in your eye and a cupcake, if you don't know that as a truth, as a fact, and a world of value difference, then I can't help you.
Later on in the video, saying, so you asked for a proof, and I'm giving you the proof with reason and telling you, and this is the key bit. And I remember him exploding in one of our interviews where he says, I explain it because I personally experienced it. And I said to him, and he blew up, of course, and it still seems to go over his head, that citing personal experience as the basis for a conclusion is the definition of subjectivity.
Well, yeah, so do you agree with that? Is that your agreement that every time you witness something, a scientific experiment, you've subjectified it by witnessing it? That every time you do mathematics and you write it on a piece of paper and you observe it, you've now subjectified it? That it's no longer absolutely true that 2 + 2 = 4 because you are subjectifying it through your interpretation, through the idea that you're experiencing it as an event. You're looking at the equation, therefore it's an event. Obviously, this is nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense. That, like I said, this is stuff I think even a 10-year-old could say, wait a minute, there's a logical problem with that. All witness testimony is now corrupt. It's all, you can't trust it. We can't trust our senses. Oh yeah, you want to make the argument we're in a matrix. Okay, go ahead, make it. And you're saying I'm religious. You're the one using completely bogus, supernatural, my senses are deceiving me bullshit made out of nothing. No evidence that my senses are deceiving me. No evidence that consciousness is not happening. And yet you're resorting to the delusional, I'm going to make up some other theory and say that's why your theory's no good, is because there's all these other things I can make up out of nothing, out of no evidence. I think you're the religious kook.
The very same subjectivity which causes him to blow up and have a isifit upon isifit upon isifit.
Well, whatever. You can call them that. There's no point, right? You're an obnoxious troll, okay, to logical conversation because you don't know what words mean. It's not the definition of subjective. The definition of subjective is not every single thing that's ever interpreted by a human being. Every single event, every single data point, every single historical entry, every single bookkeeper's numbers in a book, every single thing that any human ever does is subjective. That is just plain bullshit as a definition of the word subjective.
Against myself, against me pointing out the gap and the contradiction here between how he gets from me agreeing with nail in the eye being worse than cupcake to not only
again, let's not argue. Okay, every single time you said nail, I have agreed. Your agreement was only that you personally experience it that way. You will not apply it to consciousness in general. You will not apply this simple logic that yes, I have a brain. I'm a mammal. My brain works this basic way. I will accept the premise that all the other mammalian brains work, generally speaking, in this same manner, that nail in the eye is universally not a pleasant event for any mammalian brain to experience. No, you won't do that. So that's where the conversation ends, because yes, logically, that is my philosophy. I believe animals feel. I believe other human beings feel. I believe they have qualitative experience that has to be accounted for. I cannot win by vampiring or consuming some other human's welfare. That is the logic, okay? And if you won't take that step of a premise and say that, oh yes, my experience as a conscious organism equates to the experience of other conscious organisms, then that's the end of our conversation. We could just agree to say, fuck you, you're insane.
Being that nail in his eye is worse for him than Cupcake, but in asking how he jumps from the one statement, such that, I mean, if he can demonstrate the kind of thing that he means, any instance of, you know, a nail in his eye actually being bad for me, well, then he would win his argument.
Again, he's saying that you have to be able to subjectify anything for anything to be called bad. If it's not bad for you personally, it therefore is not bad. So if I don't like Jews, it's okay if Jews are slaughtered in concentration camps. That's his logic. If I don't care for rats or cats or dogs or pigs or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You can torture them to the end of time and therefore nothing took place because it didn't affect me. That's not rational philosophy. Philosophy is about the entire game of chess. It is not about your fucking pawn. You're queen, okay? Queen for a day guy. You're the queen on the chessboard, and you're saying it only matters what happens to me. Am I supposed to think that's logical or sensible? I've just pointed out how I think consciousness is spread in all these organisms, that what happens to them matters. It's just as of equal value what happens to this brain. There's nothing distinctive about this brain's welfare and the brain welfare, the welfare of those other brains. Absolutely nothing distinctive except this one's riding on this material body. That's it. There's nothing else distinctive about it. It is doing exactly the same thing. It is producing exactly the same thing. Why the fuck would I have a rational excuse to sit there and say it doesn't matter if it's not, if it doesn't hurt me, it doesn't hurt anybody? That's illogical. There's no harm as long as the harm doesn't happen to me. That is illogical. That's not illogical. It's fucking insane.
And he knows he can't. He just wants to save the animals, and everybody who wants to save the animals, you know, with similar ignorant.
Whatever. I want to save the victims, okay? I couldn't use the word victims. I used it like, 49 times in the goddamn video, so clearly whether the victim is an animal or a human, it doesn't matter to me. That's true. And yes, there happens to be a lot more animals than there are humans, so I guess that would be the proprietary, the place you would look is the place where most of them exist. So yes, most mammalian brains are not human brains. That is true.
Passion and verba just goes along with him because he's such a vehement vegetarian.
Right. So that's what it's all about. The only reason why they go for it is because they have some warm, fuzzy feeling for animals, and that's why they logically understand that when somebody else is in pain, it doesn't have to hurt them personally for it to be a fact that they're in pain and to be a fact that it's a bad thing. When 6 million Jews are in concentration camps, slowly dying and being tortured to death, I don't have to like Jews for me to recognize the fact that this is not a good thing. I mean, you know, I took so much heat for all this Holocaust denial shit. This guy's denying all suffering that ever took place on planet Earth. So get it right, okay? You want to fucking worry about denials, okay? This is the kind of denialer that you ought to fear, motherfuckers. And it's the kind of denial that you're giving 5 thumbs up so far. He's denying the suffering of all victims of all time. He doesn't give them any value, meaning whatsoever, because he didn't know them personally and he didn't care about them personally. Therefore, they don't matter. That's his fucking insane philosophy, and you're rewarding it. There's a word for that. It's called stupid.
He knows in his mind there are places he can't go. The people who subscribe to his philosophy know there are places they can't go. And so
these aren't accusations, right? This is what he calls a question. Right, sure.
Reaction is anger and attack rather than go those places. And
Whatever. There's no place you're going that I haven't been 5 million times. So you're. This is just such a pile of crap. And again, I'm asking again, where? Where's this place? Where's this magical place you're talking about? Oh, you mean denial? Yeah, that's right. I can't deny the existence of other mammalian brains. That's right. I'm not as big an asshole as you, where I say I'm going to deny the basic function of them and call myself super. I'm human. I'm therefore super, and therefore I don't have to account for any of that other stuff. If that isn't religion, I don't know what the fuck is.
Points that are made. He knows that if he goes over there, he has no chance of realizing his wanted, needed conclusion that we all must be vegetarians. I respect.
I don't even understand this point of bringing up the vegetarian thing. I've already said 5 million times. I don't care whether you're vegetarian. What I care is what you advocate for. Okay? You want to do something that is fundamentally unethical and indecent. Go ahead and do it. Just don't advocate that people in the future do that. Just don't